I don't know how to talk about myself without talking about what I do. And this was a really interesting observation for me because when you think about it, we have been trained to lead with our job titles. And I didn't realize how much of my identity was built on top of what I do until I was asked to introduce myself. And think about it. This is the kind of casual question that we get so frequently in networking events, in dinner parties, first dates, family gatherings. So, what do you do? And I find that when I'm asked that question and when I'm asked to introduce myself, right, I open my mouth up and then nothing comes out or I freeze, I stumble over my words. And it's not because I'm not doing anything. I'm actually doing a lot, but none of it fits into that clean one sentence answer that I've been giving for years. The answer that used to come out automatically is now something that I really have to think about. So I want you to try something right now. Pause this video and introduce yourself. Introduce yourself out loud, do it in your head. But the rule is you cannot mention your job, you cannot mention your title, your company, what you do for work, none of it. Just introduce yourself through the lens of who you are. Who are you? And I find that I think that most people, when asked this question, go quiet. And I think that quiet is actually telling us something, and it's worth digging into because we have been trained from a very young age to lead with what we do. Think about it. The first thing we're asked as children is, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Right? Not who do you want to become, not what matters to you, not what lights you up. What do you want to do? And I think at some point, being and doing got collapsed onto one another. And what you do becomes who you are. And so we've spent years, decades building our identities on top of job titles and measuring our worth in roles and responsibilities. And maybe it's worked, but it works until it doesn't, right? And when the title changes, when the role goes away, or when it just doesn't resonate with you anymore, and you're standing in a room of people trying to answer that simple question of introducing yourself and what it is that you do, you realize, dang, the foundation that I've built, the foundation that my sense of self is built on is actually a bit shaky, right? So I'm in one of those seasons right now, and I left a career. I'm in the process of building something new, and I'm in this uncomfortable in between where the answer that I used to give doesn't work anymore. And the answer that I would like to give is still quite new. Maybe it's not quite ready yet. So when someone asks me to introduce myself and what it is that I do, I genuinely just don't know where to start. Do I lead with what I used to do? Do I lead with what I'm building? Do I explain the whole thing that I left? I'm traveling. I coach. I do freelance marketing. All of the things. I don't know, and just watch them look at me with confusion? Or do I just try to answer differently and talk about who I am instead of what I do? And personally, I think that the former, talking about who I am, is the more expansive and a meaningful approach. Because I think if we cannot describe ourselves without a job title, what does that actually say about how well we know ourselves as people, right? Like, how well do you know what you value and what you care about, and what kind of energy you bring into a room, and what the people who love you and who know you best would say about who you are when work is not part of the equation. And I think those are the answers that actually describe us. And when I think about it, I've been leading with the doing for my entire life. I haven't been leading with the being in terms of answering these questions and making a first impression, introducing myself to others. And I do want to be clear that this is not me saying work doesn't matter. I think what you spend your time building matters. The contribution you make in that way matters. But ultimately, you are not your job title. None of us are. And the moment that the title changes, whether that's through a career shift, a layoff, a transition, or just a personal choice, you should still be able to answer that question, and answer it in a way that feels empowering and authentic. Who are you? Not what you do. Who are you? And if the answer to that question is, you know, within your resume and your list of achievements, that might be worth paying attention to. So recently, I have been practicing and thinking through a different type of introduction, not that polished professional introduction, but just the real one. What is the essence of who I am? Right? I'm someone who cares deeply about others and why they do what they do and what makes them tick, what lights them up. I'm someone who has courage in leaving a life that looked really great on paper to actually venture out and explore and go, create a life that feels right. I'm someone who believes in contribution and in kindness, and I believe that we're all here to leave this world better than we came into it. And I'm someone who's figuring it out, right? In real time. And it's uncomfortable, but it's also exciting. And that's who I am. And none of it is rooted in a title, right? So the same exercise that I have given myself, I want to give to you. I want you to introduce yourself without mentioning work, without mentioning a title, without mentioning what you do, or even what you're building. Just who are you? And it is okay if that question makes you uncomfortable, if it does, sit with it, because that discomfort is honestly, that discomfort is information. It's telling you a lot about what, the foundation of your sense of self and your identity. And maybe it's an invitation to revisit where you are getting that sense of self and that identity from. So take some time, think about this answer, work through those feelings, really lean into it. And I want to hear in the comments, want to read in the comments, how, like, who are you? How would you introduce yourself? What comes up for you? Not what you do, but what is the essence of your being, and how can you use that to introduce yourself to the world? So thank you for listening. Looking forward to reading all of your comments and insights. As always, I will see you in the next video. Bye.